go live to Tampa, Florida, where Jack Curry, who does such a great job on the pre- and post-game show with Bob Lorenz, and occasionally will join us in the booth during the year at the Yes Network. He joins us now. Hey, Jack, how you doing?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Everybody's doing well here. Now, obviously, Girardi had the press conference. We carried it live on Yes at 11 o'clock. It seems like the story that a lot of people are running into is that he wants to stay after this. I'm not sure what they expected him to say, even if he didn't want to. What did you take out of this press conference?
Well, first of all, about his situation, we're getting to the point where I thought the press conference was winding down. I actually was raising my hand for the mic because his status hadn't been addressed yet, and that was obviously a question that needed to be asked. I thought Joe handled the question you would expect someone who's been in the New York market for more than 20 years to handle it. He said it's not going to impact how he manages on a day-to-day basis, that the Yankees have never really extended managers before, so he doesn't expect that to happen to him. Thought it was interesting that he said that he won't reach out to ownership for some clarity, because if that was me, I would want some clarity, but he said he's not going to do that. And then the follow-up, I ended up asking him, I said, so do you envision yourself being back next year? And he said he does. He said he hasn't thought about doing anything else, and this is all that he knows. So maybe since this is all that he knows and all he has known for the last 10 years, it's why he doesn't think too much about next year.
Now, any chance that something could actually happen in the middle of the year, Jack? Because you do have the lame duck quality to it. So if they got off to a really slow start or had a really bad month, could it make it easier for him to be let go?
You know what, Don? Anything can happen. I mean, a team could go 10-35, and if that happens, obviously, an organization would probably have to make a move. But based on the history between Joe Girardi and the Steinbrenner family, and even the history between Joe Girardi and Brian Cashman, I don't envision that happening. I think Girardi has a good reputation for working with young players. And what was the other theme of this press conference today was the talk about all of the young players. Sanchez bursting onto the scene last year, the return of Bird, who had a really solid 2015 and then had the shoulder surgery. Can Aaron Judge come back and show that he's better than he was when he struck out half of the time last year, 42 strikeouts and 84 at-bats? So I think the Yankees probably believe Joe Girardi is a good guy to shepherd this team going forward. The one thing I would throw out there, though, too, is we always sort of put the onus on the ownership versus the manager. I mean, Joe Girardi's got to want to come back, too. He's got to say, hey, I've done this for 10 years. I want to be back. He's got a family, and he's got a son who I think he's high school age, so he'll be getting to the point where he'll be thinking about colleges, or maybe, who knows, could Dante be drafted in baseball? So it's a two-way street. It's got to be an agreement on both ends.
I agree with you, Jack. We were just talking about it before he came on. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't here, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was his decision. 10 years is a long time, and this is really, you're in the cauldron in New York, and you can see he's not real comfortable answering questions from the media. I don't think he loves that, and I could see him stepping away and going back into TV for a little bit while his son either goes to the minor leagues or goes to college. So I wouldn't be shocked at that at all. Now, let's just move forward just a bit. I know you guys were covering a lot with him. I don't understand, I never understood, Jack, and maybe you could give me some clarity on this. Where does Chris Carter fit? Because I'm looking at him, if you don't give him 500 bats, he's not hitting you 41 home runs. So where does he fit?
I think he's two things. I think he's an insurance policy against Bird's shoulder not being exactly where they need and want it to be. Bird still has options. So if Bird comes into spring training and that shoulder is cranky and he's not getting the power and the lift on the ball that they expect from him, and he needs some time at AAA, you can send him to AAA. So I think Carter is an insurance policy there. And then I think he's your first baseman probably against left-handed pitching. I don't love the idea of taking at-bats away from Bird, but you're right. Carter wasn't signed, a guy who had 41 home runs last year, to play once a week. I think they're going to find some playing time for him, and I think those are the two ways that they do it.
Is there an indication that Bird might be an issue health-wise?
I asked him this during the offseason, Don, and he said no. But again, what is the player going to say? Well, I feel I'm at 82%. I mean, they're always going to tell you that they feel great, but he went to the Arizona Fall League, and I don't put a lot of stock in those numbers, but he didn't do anything power-wise. Meanwhile, Gleyber Torres was hitting over 400. I think Bird was sort of given orders, go to the Arizona Fall League and shake off some of the rust. And even though we talk about how sometimes the spring training games, for some players they don't mean anything, they mean something for Greg Bird. Greg Bird has to come to spring training and show the Yankees that he's the guy from 2015 or something resembling that guy from 2015 because, again, if he's not, they do have the luxury of saying, hey, Greg, we love you. We know you're a future major leaguer. We're going to send you to Scranton for a month, and we're going to let you get some of that rust off and get some of that power and that strength back because they have Carter waiting in the wings.
We are talking with Jack Curry live from Tampa, Jack of the Yes Network, and Joe Girardi had his introductory press conference for the spring today. The other question, at least position-wise, Jack, is going to be in right field, and you mentioned he struck out half the time, and they said every time he's had a second year at a level, he does better. But knowing how the Yankees love them some Aaron Hicks, I think Aaron Hicks is going to win that competition.
You know what? I'm going to disagree with you. And I had a conversation with Chris Sheeran of the Yes Network earlier today about this. I think it's time to figure out who Aaron Judge is. And I think you've gotten to this point now with Judge. You gave him a taste of it last year, and he struggled the way that he did. I think you have to find out who this guy is. He's 25 years old. I don't think giving him 100 at-bats and pulling the plug is fair. I think you've got to let him go out there and succeed or fail, and I don't think 100 bats is enough. And you're right, Michael. Brian Cashman is on the record making the comparison of Aaron Hicks to Jackie Bradley Jr., and look at Jackie Bradley Jr. after the Red Sox were patient with him. I still see Hicks as a fourth outfielder type because he can play all three positions. He's a switch hitter. He's got that solid arm. I think Judge wins the job. And one other thing I'll throw in there is we did an interview with Hal Steinbrenner. Meredith Marakovitz did it earlier in the offseason. He called Aaron Judge the starting right fielder. So when the owner is saying that, to me, I'm taking that to the bank.
It's interesting because, when you're talking about Hicks, Jack, you're talking about a young guy who still has an upside if he projects to what they think he's going to get to. So he could be a starting right fielder for 10 years, too. Now, he didn't come up through the system, but you did acquire him with a guy from your system. So I don't think that would be taking a huge step back from their stated intention of getting younger and faster. Now, I don't see it, but you know that they see it.
What I said a little while ago about the spring at-bats are important for Bird, I'm going to say the same thing about Judge because he's working with Alan Cockrell right now, and they talked about how he's trying to quiet his lower half, and he's such a big guy that there's so many places for pitchers to exploit him. John Flaherty, one of our colleagues at Yes, I was talking to him, and I said, if you were a catcher behind the plate and Aaron Judge comes up, how many different places can you exploit? Now, John hasn't played in how long, and his eyes lit up. He said there's so many different ways you can go with this guy because his zone is so big, his swing is so long. It's incumbent upon Judge to figure out what teams and what pitchers are trying to do to him and then counter that.
All right, we have about a minute with Jack left, so here we go, Jack. I'm going to put you on the spot before anybody throws a pitch in spring training. The starting pitchers, 1 through 3, Tanaka, Pineda, and Sabathia. Who's 4 and 5?
I'm on the record here with this. I think Severino and Mitchell. I think Severino is going to bounce back, and I think Mitchell is dynamite. I mean, this kid throws 97. He's got a nasty curveball. He's had some freak injuries that have, the foot injury, the toe injury. He got hit in the head with the ball. I think if this kid can stay on the field, he is going to be superb. The Yankees love Sessa. They really like Sessa because he throws 4 pitches. He throws inside. He's not afraid of moving batters off the plate, but I'm still going to go with Severino and Mitchell.
Now, is Pamela down in Tampa?
No, she is not.
You're not with your wife on Valentine's Day.
I was about to say, you're giving me the chance to wish her a happy Valentine's Day. You're such a wonderful guy. Happy Valentine's Day, Pamela. I will see you in a few days.
Oh, she's crushed, I bet. I bet you she's crushed.
I love you.
Well, is that to me or Pamela?
It didn't work out. The timing and the scheduling didn't work out.
All right. Well, I will see you probably sometime next week, so have a good time down there and break some stories.
And I just want to let you guys know it's 80 degrees here. I got to sneak that cliche of a spring training thing in there.
Wow. We'll take it as long as it stays that way.
You're working too hard to enjoy it, though. So.
That's right. You're grinding it. You're a grinder.
Of
Thanks,
course.
Jack.
Thanks, guys. See you
Talk
later.
to you soon.